The year is 1998. Slash is leaving Guns N' Roses. The first Tomb Raider game comes out on various platforms, and Super Mario 64 is considered the best platforming game after its successful release together with the Nintendo 64 console. Me? I'm 6 years old, still playing Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo. I recently beat the game though, after many occasions of not turning the console off over the night, just to keep my exact progression. Now, you might imagine what happens next after a 6-year-old me wins over the last boss on the only Super Nintendo game I own. I beat it again, and again, and again. But that only goes so far, and eventually I go to my dad and I ask him, when can we have a look at getting another game? At this time, Donkey Kong Country 2 has come out, but there is another game that grabs my attention. It's darker, edgier, and cooler. Who doesn't want to be a knight in shiny armor? Playing dark and gritty game is nothing I'm familiar with, as I've spent countless of hours at our family PC as well. But finally I get to have my own gothic platforming adventure that I can play how much I want. This is the time I'm introduced to Super Ghouls N Ghosts. Super Ghouls N Ghosts is a Capcom-developed side-scroller where you take the role as Arthur on a quest to save Princess Guinevere by defeating Emperor Sardius, who not only kidnapped the princess, but also revived the ghoul realm, making the kingdom flood over with ghouls and ghosts. It's the third game in the series, where the two prior was released as arcade games, but this one made it to the home consoles. You run from left to right, you kill ghouls, you open chests for loot or traps, kill the boss in the end of the level and repeat until the game is over. But hey, not so fast. Don't put your guard down just yet. A lot of arcade design patterns are still around, meaning that you don't really have HP. Mechanically, it's one hit, one kill, with 3 lives to start with that gradually goes up as you kill more enemies and get more points in the top left corner. To alleviate this a little bit, you make use of the armor to survive 1 extra hit, cracking the armor and putting you out in a manly underpants style instead. Who needs clothes anyway? Actually, it turns out we do really like that armor because 1, this game is incredibly frustrating. We are going to take damage, and a lot of it. Ghouls are wandering, flying and shooting projectiles at all the obnoxious angles you could think of. Movement, especially jumping, takes some time to get used to. Momentum is applied at the start of the jump and not adjusted until the next jump. So if you have committed to a jump, you just have to pray it was the right move. 2. The armor actually comes with some powers as well. Green armor gives you a buffed weapon, and the golden armor gives you the ability to charge up an attack, unique to your specific weapon. That's pretty neat. And then 3. The treasures that you can pick up, they are given in a specific order of green armor into the golden armor and then an upgraded shield, which later leads to a 4th item that we need, but we will talk about that later. Just remember that since this line of item exists, armors actually do play a role in beating the game. But for now, let's move on. Last bit to mention on a mechanical level is that there are various weapons, and I'm sure anyone who plays this game gets attached to a specific weapon. I like the throwing dagger, I guess because I like spamming buttons and not being animation locked for too long. But this is a part of the game I really like, that you can find a weapon you vibe with and stick to it for a long time, and if you see a weapon in a chest that you don't like, you can simply skip it. That's really cool. Every level starts with us getting to see the map and how far we are on our journey. That's also very nice. The levels are as follows: the Dead Place, the Rotting Sea, Vermilion Horror, the Ghoul's Stomach, the Deep Chill, the Castle of the Emperor, Hallway of Ghouls, and lastly the Throne Room. Pretty much every level gives you a treasure chest in the start if you jump at a specific location. And if you don't know this, you will also see one in the first couple of seconds usually. Just be ready in case it's a trap and the wizard comes out and turns you into a baby. The Dead Place is your go-to generic level in a game like this. Not much to say, except it does a good job explaining what to expect by throwing like 4 goals at you while also showing you a treasure chest that you obviously want. The Rotting Sea is the mandatory ghost ship level, ending with one of those stand still while the background moves the game forward automatically type levels. Fortunately enough, the little raft under Arthur automatically follows when jumping over things, so while you can screw up your jumps, landing in the water is not one of the things that can happen. In Vermilion Horror, you'll go down a cave-like structure, jump on flying, bleeding bones, and eventually climbing towers with falling gremlins. This stage is great. Next level is the Ghoul's Stomach, and I have no idea how we ended up inside one of these guys. It must be massive. This ghoul that we are inside also spawns flying ghouls, and also hold another moving platform section inside of it. It's a great level, but finding out it's actually inside a ghoul's stomach creeps me out a little bit. In the end of the stomach is also a dragon. This belly really has surprises. The Deep Chill is the ice level, as the name kind of spoils. If you ask me, this is the worst level, and for some reason, it had me die the most when I replayed this game for this video. The plants are so annoying. Also, this flying guy is in various places of the game. He can truly fly off somewhere, especially when he's placed in a place like this, where I want the chest. Survive the avalanches in the end and kill the boss, and we are finally entering the Emperor's castle. Oh, more flying guys. Okay, sorry, let's stay positive. The music here is great, but unfortunately that's where it ends, because from here on out, there is very little surprise left in the game. Perhaps how they tie the enemies together is a good thing. We get to see some bird faces and those flying ghouls from the stomach again, which is nice. I really like this boss fight that is guarding the next stage. Not really sure what I should call him, but he's neat. And now we are at the 7th stage, which also happens to be the final full level, Hallway of Ghouls. We do some climbing and dealing with more bird faces, and what do you know? Same boss again as last time, except just a different floor. How creative. This time he has a second phase as well that shoots bigger lasers, but the fight still remains the same. One could think, or at least 6-year-old Myrno thought, that this was the end of the game. After winning against the third guard, and the princess appears, like Mufasa from The Lion King, he tells you that the reason she was caught was because she wore a magic bracelet that the ghouls apparently wanted. So she hid it on the way to the castle. So now, if you want to access the 8th level, containing the final boss and a true ending, you would have to go back and play the game again, and find the bracelet during your playthrough and wear it while killing the 7th boss. So this is where we come back to the order of the armors and the chest rewards I talked about earlier. In order to get the bracelet, which is a weapon by the way, you would need to get all other chest rewards first, and breaking the chain of rewards will reset it. I think the most reasonable thing to do here is to avoid this mechanic altogether until the castle levels, and then try to get all the chests in the last level or so. But you could also just get it on the first level and hold on to it. The important part is that you first get the green armor, and then the golden armor, and then you get the shield. Then the next time you would get an armor upgrade, you instead get the bracelet. And then you stick to that until you kill the last boss. This could be in my head, but I also felt like the second round of the game was mechanically harder in terms of enemies. But since you also get used to the game, it was almost the same, if not easier the second time around. After playing it through the game again and killing the 7th boss with the bracelet equipped, you get access to the throne room, where you instantly get to fight Emperor Sardius. I actually had a good time figuring out how to deal with this boss. It was not clear at the start how you should approach the flying platforms. I managed to find a way to read where he was gonna shoot and where the platform was coming, and managed to find a way to not take damage on the way up and shoot him on the way down. With this strategy, I managed to squeeze in enough damage and save the day once again. One thing I truly like about hiding the last boss like this is that you have the option to balance a boss and its mechanics around one specific weapon. I find that very interesting to think about. Anyway, I save the princess and we ride away on our horse and we live happily ever after. Or until next ghoul invasion strikes, of course. Unless my memories and timeline is wrong, I was 6 years old when I played this game the most. I do have memories finishing it, but I am not 100% sure I actually got the second ending. What I do remember though is how this game kicked my ass on repeat for a long time. If it's one thing I think this game taught me as a kid, is that slow and steady wins the race. If you die, take notes on why and how it could have been avoided. It's okay to get frustrated, but games are designed to be figured out and eventually won against. Sometimes they are unfair, sometimes they demand things that we as players simply do not have the ability to give it, but over time these mountains will shrink to hills, and the more you know about the game, the more situations are open for you to exploit and come out as a winner on the other side. I believe this game was the first game that I truly had to sit down and crunch. I couldn't just go back to my dad and say the game was too hard and it was a waste of money. I just simply had to learn to enjoy it. I also believe it's around here my joy for learning new things started to grow, and today, almost 30 years later, it's one of my main things in life, picking up new topics and learning about them just for the sake of learning. It's one of the few things that still gives me a tremendous amount of joy in the everyday life. So if you would ask me, hey Marino, what's a game that you grew up with that really defined you? Then there is a high chance that you would get back Super Ghouls N Ghosts for the SNES. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please consider thumbing the thumb and subscribing to my channel. I also stream on twitch.tv/MarinoTV and here on YouTube, so I'd also be super happy if you hopped in there and said hi sometime. All the relevant links are in the description. Thank you so much again, and have a wonderful day.